everybody, it's me, Jane Bond, again, and I want to welcome you back to another great episode of Unpack Your Life. And today we have Jaclyn Strominger here. And we won't even tell you how we got started. That was a whole, we had a lot of blurred lines, guys, but now we're clear.
Yeah.
So I want to share with you who Jaclyn is. Jaclyn is a high performance coach, and she has a course called Two Levels to Yes, which is great. And I'm going to give her a chance to speak about it, talk about it to you, and she's going to unpack her life here and tell us how she got to that level to become a powerhouse in sales. Let's go, Jaclyn.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Jane, for having me on as a guest because,
Oh, oh,
unpacking your life this is such a key, important thing for us all to do.
absolutely. On a regular basis,
Yeah,
not to when we get here like me. I burnt the house down. So go ahead.
right. No, but we almost like have to find out where that point is. Like, where's that moment that you say to yourself, oh, you know what? I need that time right now to make a pivot, to make a change, because what the direction I'm going in might we need to make I can't speak. We need to make that change, right? Because
Right.
that direction isn't the right thing, or we're not feeling it, or we're realizing that, we're waking up and we're like, where's life going?
Exactly. Or our energy is all wrong.
Right.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden, your energy is everywhere. It's not where it belongs, which is focusing on your business, your family, your friends, and other relationships that you haven't even encountered yet.
Right. Yeah. So, when we were talking, it's, one of the biggest things, and I love sharing this little bit of a story about where I got started and how I got started in the some of the biggest aha moments for me where I really had to make that time for myself to make a huge unpack. And that, I used to I've had an illustrious career in a lot of different things. And I started in Consumer Magazine, and there was a key point where I realized, I did consumer marketing. So I used
Okay.
to say to people back in the day, I was the person who, you know, um, destroyed trees because I was the one that for the magazines that I worked on, I put all the insert cards in the magazines and I did all the direct mail. I'm like, and I would say, I'm very sorry, but sorry, trees. Um, but what was a really like the first aha moment one was I literally was realizing I am behind a desk. I love marketing. I love consumer marketing. I love knowing and how to connect with people and how to figure out what things that they really would like, in the products that I was selling,
Absolutely.
right?
And the
That's
creative aspect of it, too, of course.
right. And that's
Mhm.
fun. But I realized I didn't want to be behind a desk. And I wanted to get out. I thrive on connecting and meeting people. It is like I could be in the crappiest mood and I could walk into a dinner party and I'm starting to meet people and shake hands and get to know people, and
Yes,
it fills my cup,
me too. I get that. I
right?
totally get that.
Right. So sitting behind a desk was like not for me. I just was like, oh, I know that. And I remember saying to the VP of circulation, because that's what we were called back then, not consumer marketing. I said, I think I want to go into sales. And I've talked to the publisher and there's a spot and I think I'm gonna move over there. Just want to let you know. And he said no.
Oh, when you knew it was the best place for you.
Yes. And I didn't care if I failed. I didn't care if I didn't know anything about magazine sales. I just knew that I didn't want to be
Yeah.
behind a desk anymore.
And you know what they say about failing. I mean,
You
when you
just
fail,
learn.
you
It's
forward.
nothing.
Right,
Right.
of course.
We fail forward. And I always say the word fail, the only time you actually fail anything is when somebody's actually grading your paper and you actually get an F.
Mhm.
Because unfortunately, in today's world, or in the way education is, and that's a whole other topic. If I do get an F on a paper,
Totally.
many
Yes.
times the teacher's not saying to me, "Oh, here's what you need to fix it." Right. So that's a whole other story. But if I'm going to learn, if I'm going to get better, this was that moment for me that I said, no, I'm in charge of my own life. You can't dictate,
Wow.
you don't own me, but he
Exactly.
would not let me move. So what happens? what did I do? I left.
Okay.
I left the company and I found a position in sales. And it was that moment that I was like, I'm never going to let anybody ever dictate my
That's right.
life.
That's right.
That's it's me. And
Hmm.
so don't let anybody ever dictate you. If you find your passion, if you know that you're the person that likes to get out, get out. So
Exactly.
fast forward, I meet my husband, we get married, blah blah blah. We're in New York City. We were there for 9/11. That's a whole other thing. We leave, I go back to Boston, and I am literally trying different careers out in Boston. It was almost like, okay, Jaclyn, Jaclyn's, what's the flavor this month of Jaclyn's job? Because it was basically going to change because I was just trying things out.
Hmm.
And I ended up getting back into magazine publishing and doing digital magazines. And I loved what I was doing, but there was a huge moment for me where now I've got two kids, and I and this was like the quintessential, like the biggest like aha thing for me is I had always
That was
had
my question.
courage.
Yeah.
Right. I
What
had
was that aha moment when you were sitting in that interview?
right.
That's the
So
question you answered.
yeah. So I literally was sitting there and we were talking about, my career and what I wanted. And all of a sudden I was like, I haven't thought about this in years. I have
Wow.
just been going through the motions. I have been doing a job. My career has become a job. And there's a huge different distinction between career and
Mhm.
job. I was going and I was like, no, no, no. Like I have to take a step back and figure out, what do I want? What do I
That's
want in my
not an easy
life?
question to answer.
No. And I have to be honest. I mean, like I can get like a little teary as I'm talking about this. It's teary. Like I remember going home and thinking, I have to figure this out, and having that pit in my stomach and thinking, I have this is the first time it was like this. Somebody slapped me in the face and said, now it's time to wake back up. You haven't been focusing on a career. And I was like, what am I doing?
And
I'm,
this was after marriage, after two kids. So you're a full adult, mature woman, and someone says to you, "Well, what do you want? Where do you want to go with your life? What do you want to do?" I mean, even when someone asks you, I remember my parents asking me that when it was time for me to go to college. Like, what do you want to be? I was like, I don't know.
right,
I'm 16. I don't know what I want to be. You're asking me to figure out what do I want to be when I have
right.
no idea, and then to be an adult and to be God smacked with that. I mean, I definitely could be God smacked with that because I want to be so many things, so many different times. We all do.
We all do.
And we think we love what we're doing. And some people, when they say that to me, I just kind of go, I really wonder if you're being, really forthcoming with me with that one because I'm not sure.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it was a moment that I sat there and I thought, I I need to really take a look at what I want. And
Mhm.
and look, what did I want for my family? What did I want for my kids? What did I want for my marriage and and what do I want for us as a unit? And what did I want for me? And again, it wasn't what I needed, it was what I wanted, because needs and wants are very different. And
Oh,
remember going,
completely.
I remember going home and I was just like, I'm going to write down all the things I'm gonna, and I crafted that massive vision for myself and my family, and sat at like, what do I want? Like, what's my mission? What do I
And
want to
that's
be?
one part of unpacking also. Like really unpacking who you are to go after what you want. Because the first part is, who am I? Who am I to even want that? How do I get there? And what about the fear part? Because there's always fear behind everything you do. If not, something's wrong with you if you're not afraid of making
Right,
different moves and moving, trying to navigate through life because you don't know the unknown. You know where you've been,
right,
but what's in front of you, you have no idea.
right. and
I can
and
only imagine.
it was, it's terrifying. And it's also what the other kind of terrifying thing. And the other part of that aha was me realizing that my husband and I, since kids, and we were going like this,
Right.
right?
Right.
And we hadn't taken a minute to say, what the freaking hell are we doing?
I get that, trust me. And those are like real aha moments. You're like, oh shit, how do I handle this? Because not only am I smacked in the face with what do I want to do with my life, I'm smacked in the face with what am I going to do with this? Because it all comes into play. Because I think once we sit down or once we go through, for in my case, I went through a thing of depression and darkness and going down a dark hole and knowing who I was, but losing that person and trying to find her again. And I looked in the mirror one day and went, where are you? I miss you. I actually miss you. And it's a picture that I used to have next to my on my dressing table in the center, because we had like our own dressing tables and then a center table, and that's where we had like memorabilia and stuff. And I remember looking at the picture. I was 19, ready to take on the world. I was in college. I had my hair different. I remember having my hands up, smiling and saying to myself, oh my God, I used to be fun. And I started thinking about the Miley Cyrus song, I'm getting old. Oh, shit, I got the tears. All that started pouring. And I kept trying to find that. I found her. Trust me, I found her. She's here. She's here with us today. But at that time, 10, 12 months ago, I could not find her. And it was the saddest thing to me in the world. And I had to unpack everything. And I remember thinking, I haven't unpacked my life in 16 years. My shit is packed up in a garage. Wait a minute. Who am I? How did I become this person? And that's what happened.
Yeah, and it's like for me, it is because it's one of those moments that you realize, and your stuff, if your stuff is all packed up, it's all in a garage or wherever your stuff is, and wherever you're going, that's what I always say now, and what I do every single year, and I tell everybody to do this. I don't care when you do it. Pick your anniversary date, right? Whatever that date is. It doesn't have to be the new year. As a matter of fact, actually, I would probably say don't make it January 1st because everybody's doing it then, and it's whatever. But find your date that you are going to put the line in the sand and say, okay, I'm going to go take myself and put myself in some place, and I'm going to look at what my vision is and what's my mission and what are my goals and where am I going, and I want to do that, check in and reevaluate, because we always have to measure, monitor, and adjust ourselves, not just like in the sales process. You have to monitor and measure what you're doing in sales, but you have to do it. But your life, you have to. It starts right here, and every one of us is the CEO of our own lives. So we have to take that CEO position and craft out that vision and mission.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. You are the CEO of your life. Only you can command what needs to be done and put it in action. I think the worst thing you can do is sit back and watch it go past you. And that I damn sure wasn't doing. And I thought, I need a juicy life. I need an exciting life. That's who I am. I'm excitement. I walk through the room and I'm lighting the room up. No way am I giving that up. And I thought, life is too short and it's just passing me by. I got to do something about it. Of course, I burnt the house down. And I should have never waited that long. But then the pandemic came. I'm 5 years in and, everybody's losing their mind, losing their life, losing their homes. And I'm just like, okay, this is it. This is where I am for the rest of my life. I'm just going to just wait it out. Next thing I know, the pandemic started lifting. I'm like, okay, so now I'm lifting. I got to figure out what takeoff is, what day and date that takeoff is. And that's the anniversary.
But yeah,
plus it's like in my foot. It's like here. Right. Yeah. So, when shit hits the fan and it gets me here, I always say, if you take me above my hairline, we have a problem. And that's where I was.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you answered that aha moment, because I was thinking to myself, what is that aha moment? So let me ask you something. If we had to look into your diary
Yeah.
or your journal, what would be one thing that nobody knows about you that we could discover here today?
I think if you were to look at my journal and something that you would discover, a lot of people, it's one of those things I think for that a lot of people may not realize that even if no matter how much we all put out the confidence and the presence and that I think some people might be surprised, because I think everybody has it, and that is our own self doubt, and that is the thing that I'll write in my in my journal. It's like, oh, today was a little bit of a doubt day. Like I had that doubt, I had that pit in my stomach, and I think sometimes, you know, I think that might be something that people may be surprised at, only because I've had people say to me like, you know, things like you always know what's going on, you're very secure, you've got you know you got your shit together, oh my god,
Yes,
you do so much,
external well they see, right?
right?
Yeah,
you know
right.
um I sit there and I tell people some of the things that I do, like, besides being a high performance coach and having a sales process and course and a podcast. On the outside of that too, I'm a cyclist, I ski, but we also live on property that we moved here in 2018 that ends up having grapes, so I make wine and I make jam. I went from this city girl to this, and I decided I was going to start making my own pasta. I have chickens, right? Like, so people look at me like, you have chickens, right?
Your
Like,
chickens.
my mom, my mom. Oh, and by the way, yes, I like, if you wanted to come to my house, I have eggs, by the way.
Right, right.
um, but here's a funny thing: is like my mom shows up. My parents moved. I live in Reno, Nevada. I'm an East Coast girl. I will always say an East Coast girl, but we live here in Reno, Nevada. Very different from the East Coast. My parents moved here a couple years ago, and my mom walks into the kitchen and she's like, "What the freaking hell are you doing?" And I'm sitting here up to my eyeballs in making jam.
Oh
And my
my,
mom, like, it's like my city mouse became the country mouse,
that's a
and
wonderful thing, though.
yeah. And I laugh at myself too because and I think people are like, you're making jam? Like that, like, so they're like these little snippets of things that be like, huh? Like, really? You're doing that? Like, you do that? And so like
Wow.
those are the things
I
that
just
I think,
want to digress here for a minute when you were talking about,
it's
when we talked about your diary and you would see that, you're insecure and you have your days. I think we all have those days, no matter how strong we may look to the outside world. And people should know that. Even, I remember listening to Oprah. She was like, I have three coaches and my coaches are for different things. I have my bad days. And, I remember before shit hit the fan, I remember sitting at the bottom of my shower, just crying, trying to figure out what am I going to do about certain situations. But then I had to put my cape on when I came out the shower. I had to dry myself off and put that superwoman cape back on and go out there and be this person, because I still have to show up for people, certain people, whether it's clients, family, friends. I have to show up and be the strong one. But then I always go back into my head and go, well, who the hell is going to show up for me? Because no one's coming to save me. No one saves us. It
right.
seems like we do a lot of saving in our own sense, where we're mentoring, guiding people. And it's a good thing. I love that. That's a part of who I am. That is just, I think everybody I encounter, I offer help to or some advice to. And people always say, Jane, every time I talk to you, you inspire me. And I said, that's a wonderful thing. But selfishly, I think, well, who's going to inspire me? I mean, I need to be inspired too. And these are like my little, I think if you opened up my book and my diary, it'd be full of tears. And, I made it, but I'm
Yeah.
still teary eyed. I still think of things. My cup has not runneth over yet. That's for damn sure.
You
That's
know,
for
and
damn sure.
and I think something that's really important is that, and this was like a, and this was also a pretty hard lesson and also an aha moment. And I want to make sure people understand this because I think it's really important in that one of the things that I know for myself that when I am not aligned with the right way, with my values, with my mission, and those are the things that will, and I'm gonna be honest, it happened last week. I was like there was some stuff that was going on, and
Mhm.
I literally was like, just that icky pity
Yeah,
feeling, like,
yeah.
and my
I know
energy
that
was
feeling.
like, yeah, my energy was down here, and I'm normally up here, and and it was like, okay, we need to get realigned. We need to realign with what we're doing. And when we're
Absolutely.
and looking at the goal that we have, and all of a sudden I'm like, what do I really want? I got to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Am I
Mhm.
going after the right thing? And so that was when, so what ends up happening when we're not is I'll share a little story. I did super amazing in network marketing. Like I am one of those people. I went from consumer marketing to getting to network marketing when I was like gagging with a pitchfork. I was never going to do this, but it, anyway, certain things happened, and I got involved, and I did freaking awesome. I mean, I was making, I furnished my house. Like I was me. I paid,
Okay.
like, right. So I paid for all the furnishings in the house with my money. Um, did super well, but when I hit the top of the career plan and I had that feeling of yay, it lasted for about 60 seconds.
I know that too well.
Right? And
It's
so,
not a good feeling because it's like, and it's funny because I listened to someone talk about that today online, and they said, "Now I'm Captain America. Now what?" And I went, "Wow, wow." I mean, I would think, or I thought now that you got to that level, everything is smooth sailing. No, it doesn't happen that way.
no.
Once you get there, you're like, wow, this is good. It's lonely, but it's good. And yeah, I have money. And is this what success looks like? Segue into that next question with that one. Go
Right.
ahead.
Well,
You finish.
right. And so success is actually everybody's definition for success is different. And
Exactly.
for me,
That's my question. It
right.
looks
And so
different to everyone.
right. And so for me, success was what I thought success was at that moment was hitting this level, but it wasn't. For me is and what how I define success is yes, it is partly what's in my bank account, but at
Right.
the really what defines success is the recognition
Oh,
that my recognition that I receive and the team that I have and the people around, if I have the right people around me and I see them, like that to me is success when I have helped more people rise
exactly.
up and I can say, like, I think about one of my clients. She literally just, a year ago started in the mortgage industry. She's been in the industry for a long, long, long time. She went from processor to sales. She's awesome, but she's never done sales. And
Wow.
she literally went from doing 3 HELOCs, if so, not which don't give a lot of money,
Right,
to
right.
last year closing 8 deals. Now,
Wow.
in a down market. Now, is she rolling in the dough? Not yet. But
Not
that was
yet.
it. But she
She's on
is
her
like,
way.
we're on the way. And you'll see, like I get in chills, like because I'm so excited for her to see her success and the process she's making and the confidence that's coming in and how she's exuding, like it's how she actually went from like this little inner bitty person to this bigger person, and she keeps getting, you know her personality is coming out and people are seeing her differently. And that to me, that is like, I just love that. And that to
That.
me, like,
Absolutely.
success to me is I helped her do that. Like,
When did you realize that what you did and where you felt like you were heading to, which was climbing that ladder, when did you realize it just wasn't enough, or not truly what you wanted?
you know, it was actually before I hit there, I was like, I just kept thinking I wasn't I didn't feel fulfilled. Like that was that that I kept thinking I'm going after something, but I don't think I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm doing it for a label. And that label wasn't
Right.
enough. And so, and even though I kept pushing for it, it didn't make me feel great when it happened. Like I was kind of like, eh. So on the flip side of that is that when I decided, when I looked at what I was doing and I looked at, you know, how I was helping other people and I was looking at what actually filled my cup, it wasn't me selling anything per se. It was helping my team sell and my team hit and create and do things. And that's what I realized. That was like this huge aha. I was like, that's when I was working with a coach at the time and he's like, you need to be a coach.
And that was the happiness of moving forward in your
Yeah.
life, realizing that, wow, I did this with these guys. I can also do this. And I think I probably went into that when I first went into real estate. I had that same aha as far as success. And I get the recognition part because we all want to be recognized for our efforts, especially
Yeah.
when we work really hard and we watch people grow.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And if they're not sharing with them that, oh my gosh, she did this for me, then you're like, wow, you're there, but you didn't reach back. You didn't recognize that, you know, I helped you. That could be a hurting thing also, I think, emotionally, when you think about things with people. And then I remember I used to be an entertainment manager, and I remember driving down the street one day when I first moved to Naples, and I thought, my God, if I had a manager like me, I could take this thing far. And just that just having that thought in my mind, and I went, you're the manager. You're the manager of you. You managed those guys and you got them where they were supposed to be and you moved them. You moved that needle forward for them. You can do the same thing for yourself.
Yeah.
But then it got so big at that point, I thought, okay, I'm managing, but I want something different. I had to realize that the coaching, the mentoring, the giving out of the information, distributing that to anybody and everybody I met. Oh wow, well this is what you want to do. You actually are a coach and you don't even know it. You've managed people, you've taken people from here to here. So there's something. How do you explore that, Jane? And that's when it started opening up for me, the world, like the light bulb, the
Light
lights
bulb.
coming on. Yeah. And I had to say to myself, okay, this is the direction. How do you find the team to elevate that with you? And that's where I went. But I had to climb out of that dark hole because I went into a massive dark hole and it was not easy coming out of it, as a woman, because I've been in boardrooms where I've been challenged, you know. And that's another question I want to ask you. Have you ever been underestimated in a boardroom or deal or even in your own home? How did you flip the script, Jaclyn?
Huh. So, I have. It's been, I think a lot of us have, and so There's a couple of times, and one there's two things I want to share. One is I lost a deal. I lost a massive deal, and the this was a I was in magazine publishing. I was with a startup company, and this deal would have put us not only on the map, it would have been our first sale as a in digital magazines, and it would have been huge. And the CFO of the company got into a pissing match with the CFO of this other major company, which, by the way, um, it was Microsoft and American Media.
Okay.
The people that were involved in these companies are gone. I mean, they're not. They may still be alive. I don't know them anymore. But suffice to say, this was like on the deal, and I kept arguing with this CFO and these guys, and I was helping my client, and saying it was over something silly. And at the end, the CFO literally is sitting there saying to me, no, they're going to go with the deal because they want to work with us. And I was like, no, you need to cave. This is silly. We need to share this property, which was email addresses. We need to share the email addresses and figure this out. Otherwise, they're going to walk. Anyway, they kept fighting. And finally, client prospect caves. We lose the deal.
Oof.
And I looked at the CFO and I said, I told you.
Right.
I told you. You screwed it up. And I vowed, if I ever was I'm never going to be in that situation again. And I said, next time, if I'm ever in that situation where the CFO of the company I'm working for, I will literally say, you are wrong in front of them. We are doing the deal. This way.
Right.
And if you don't want it that way, and I'm like, put on silent, you're going to lose it, because trust me, it's not that important. Like,
Wow.
you have to do what's right, not just for the client, but also, thinking about the long-term effects of what those will do. And interesting. So fast forward, when I was with another digital company, the CEO of that company, we were arguing about one of my clients. It was like the largest client that we had, was looking at a competitor and said, well, can you do the same thing for $2 less a page? And I said, and I said, well, you're just matching what this other company is doing. And I said, I'm sure it's fine. I'm just going to just confirm with the CEO. CEO said no. And I said, you're going to lose the deal. They will not come back. And I
Wow.
said, I just want you to understand that this is how much money is going to come out of the bottom line right now. And I go, I'm going to approve it. And he said, no, you're not. You're going to lose your job. So I walked out, lost the client, and left the company, because I just said, I am not going to deal with somebody who cannot see the forest for the trees. And
not only that, not let your voice be heard.
No.
Why do you have me?
Like, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Sales, this is the key thing about sales. Sales, yes, you want to sell somebody at the right price that is going to be right for you. But sometimes you might need to look at the price and think, okay, if I can hold on to my great big clients, and then I can
to make it work,
maybe find other things I can sell them or add on down the road, or I can bring, don't think of them as just this one thing. That company was expanding. And I was just like, you are so myopic in this. You're not seeing the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So, and I had this amazing relationship with this company, and I'm like, you just lost it. And
there's so many ways to skin the cat, right?
Right. And so part of sales is, and this is what, the biggest thing is saying to somebody is like, when you have those moments, Sales is about the relationship. It's thinking about the other person. Take yourself out of it and thinking about how you can do anything you possibly can for that amazing client. If that's your biggest client, you want to make them feel like they are the king or queen.
100%. Absolutely. And I, it's so funny today. I talked about EQ, emotional intelligence. You have to read the room. You have to have that radar. You have to know who's in the room and who you will be speaking with.
Yeah.
So once you step across that threshold, trust me, it's good. It's a good thing to read the room because it might not be in that room. And it might be in that room. So
Yeah.
you need to know that. That's the emotional intelligence level you have to have at all times, especially in sales, because
Yeah.
sales is an emotional, for me in my business, that's a huge emotional purchase for someone, or to let go of something, to release that house. That house has, when you walk into someone's house, that's the landscape of their life.
Yeah.
That's a canvas of their lives. So you have to be really careful with that and always be on point with that EQ. If not, what are you doing in this business?
Yeah.
You just can't, it's not going to just fall in your lap. You got to work for it.
And so it's really key that you just said that too. One of the things that I have a couple of networking groups and hubs that we call them, and one of the things that we were focusing on this month in the group is knowing what our unique buying proposition is, and each
Oh,
and every one of us, right, is each and every one of us has that. So you could be you might have 5 different realtors on your team, and each one of those people has a unique selling proposition, things that
absolutely.
are going to be different for each and every one of them. And
Right.
so funny is that not well it was interesting conversation is that one of the girls in our hub she's flat out said, I looked, she happens to be a realtor, and I said, so what makes you unique as a realtor? And she flat
What's your
out said,
value proposition? What
right,
is it?
what is
Right.
it? She said, we're all the same. Okay. I could go on for that's a whole other
Whole another podcast.
right. But I flat out said to her, we have to I go think about unpacking, we have to unpack that thought process. I said, because not every
Absolutely.
realtor is the same.
Yeah.
Every single realtor, because you just because of your DNA, everybody has different DNA,
Right.
everybody's got a different personality. You are going to align with person A, somebody else is going to align with B. You have something unique. What is unique
I
about
don't know.
you?
You're freezing here.
So what is that unique part about you? And because everybody has something that unique, and everybody has something that unique to offer. So
Absolutely.
you have to know what that is. And if you don't, hey, call me. I'm going to help you. I'll help you figure
Yeah.
out what's going to be unique about you. And we sort of unpacked it for her a little bit, and it took me about every ounce to not like reach across the table and smack her silly, because I was like, get out here, because it's amazing how people can think that like
They don't connect the dots.
right,
Yeah.
every single person is unique, and
Absolutely.
you have
When
to
it comes
know
to alignment, when it comes to moral compass, when it comes to just your service, if you don't live a life of servitude, that's something completely different, because in this business you have to. It's not your job to make everyone happy, but it's your job to make sure that transaction gets over the net fairly, and that everyone in that transaction is happy with what has gone.
happen. Yeah,
Absolutely, you have to. I mean, not all the time that's going to happen, because someone's going to feel like they should have gotten a little bit more. Someone's going to feel like they paid too much, and it happens. But all in all, most of the time, people walk away happy with what they purchased or what they have released. And you, as an agent, you have to be there for all of that,
yeah,
all of that, whenever and no matter how it unpacks itself, because life is not easy. It's not happy trails all the way down. People have emotions, and that's where that emotional intelligence come into play. And also knowing what you do, knowing your business. If you don't know your business, you're already in trouble. And to make a
Right.
blanket statement like that we're all alike, oh my God, which landscape is she on? Which land? I don't know. We
I
have
was,
to unpack a few
yeah,
things here too.
yeah. I mean, if you looked around the table, we're not all like even just here,
No,
right?
no. Let's talk about, if there was one truth about you, what truth would you have spent years avoiding, and how did you face that, facing it with change and everything?
Um,
Unpack that one for me.
honestly, it's actually, I, if I could go back in time, when I was growing up,
Mhm.
I, it was all about me. It was all about me. I didn't understand that I didn't understand how to kind of almost like win friends and influence people. I had a really I could meet people, but I had a hard time being friends with people. And a
Okay.
lot of that had to do with how I was brought up, like in what I was in, and making deeper connections with people. And it was about me. I was always like, what's in it for me? How can I take that situation to help me?
Wow.
And um, it wasn't until I had somebody who called me out on it
Wow.
that
Okay.
Lainey Gordon, I think that's her last name if I can remember, but I know her first name was Lainey, back in New York City, yelled the shit out of me. And it was the first time anybody had ever said anything to me. And I just, because I didn't know. I didn't know that I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And about it just, I didn't know. Because
So
it
do
was
you,
all
do
I
you
knew.
believe it was all foundational and you just couldn't lick it? It was who you were, like it was in your DNA.
That's what I thought. And then it wasn't until I sat down. Again, you have this realization. I was like, oh wow, I I'm an ass. Like,
Right? It's not back there, it's all over here.
it's all about me, and it
Right.
wasn't. It was it, but and I'll share. When I was a kid, I remember being in high school. I remember going to my mom, unfortunately, and I remember saying, so and so girl just keeps following me around school and blah. And my mom gave me the worst advice, and I ruined a friendship. And it
Wow.
actually had the biggest impact on my entire high school, for lack of being whatever, in a negative way. And it it really, I mean, it was the worst thing that she could have shared with me to do. And I vowed that when I became a parent, I wanted to make sure that I taught my kids to be to have to always go out of your way for somebody else, to wait for somebody else, even if you don't like them, or even if they're
Oh,
getting under your skin, or
okay.
if there's be there for people, because otherwise, how do you want people to think of you? And it it really had a huge impact.
Do you think that was one of the hardest things you had to unlearn to become Jaclyn Strominger?
It is probably one of the things that I had to unlearn. But it was one of those things that I had to unlearn. It took a while to unlearn it. And it was like there were things that I had to do, like when I got to college, because I was like, there was something that was there, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But when I got to New York, and then and and as I got through all this stuff, and I sort of like the real me came out as to who I really was,
Okay.
that's when I feel like I actually really started to flourish
Take off,
and take
yes.
off.
And realizing who you were and
I realized
understanding
the real
that.
me.
all that was foundational bullshit and you had to throw it out even though it came from home. Because sometimes, I mean, everybody says mom will never tell you anything wrong. Well, surprise, surprise, right? It
Right.
depends, because when we're out here, even, when we're in our younger years, there's a lot of influence out here that is different from what we get at home, depending on your situation. And a lot of people don't get that. That saying, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, it didn't come from, nowhere.
Right. And
and
it doesn't, right. And that was what I knew. And it also, what's interesting is that over time, I've also seen my mother change for the
right.
better.
Mhm.
Because it kind of, and so I almost feel, it was one of those things. Oh, I sort of wonder, like, how would have been different if I grew up when my mom was older, because she was a young mom, right? Like,
Right.
so, but I'm not going to trade. You know, I have, I love like the person who I am, and I love helping people become the greatest people of themselves, and knowing who they can be.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter when you make that happen. It could
Watch
be
them
today, it
shine.
could be tomorrow,
Yes.
but as long as we can make it happen. Because if you know that there's something that you want to change, then let's make it happen. Right? So, and you know, every day we get to wake up, and actually you actually shared this 2 weeks ago, and because I was watching your bond report. It's like, if it's your Monday and you're getting up, you can choose how you want to be every day. Every day can be a Monday. Every
Absolutely.
day to be the day that you get up and say, I'm the shit and I'm going to get stuff done and I'm unstoppable, or I know that I need to do this for me, for my, like, who can I help and support today? Whose life can I
Absolutely.
change?
And that's the message. That's the message. Who can I help today move on with their lives, move to the next level, and understand that this is where you belong?
Yep.
Only you know that. And even though you have people like myself and you out here, high performance coaches and life coaches and people that, want to help you, we can only lead you to the water, so to speak. You have to do the work, and that I think that's where people get it confused. They don't realize they have to show up. I can show up with you, but you have to
I
do the
have to show
work.
up too.
You have to work on yourself within, to have that person shine, without catastrophizing things. You just have to know that that is where you want to go. Because once you start looking in so many different ways, this way, that way, up, down, all around. No, no, no. Stay focused, laser focused, go after what you want, and it will come. You just have to keep showing up, keep showing up. And
Right.
sometimes it takes a long time,
And you
but
know
you
what? I think
gotta
that's
keep
one of the
showing
hardest
up.
things. You have to remember, I always have to say to people, Tom Brady did not become the GOAT overnight.
Exactly. And nor did Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, none of those guys,
Right.
I mean, Jalen Hurts. I'm from Philly. They just won the Super Bowl. His story. He
Right.
said he failed so many times. He said, but it was all worth it, and I felt that once in my life. And that's when my back was up against the wall. I came out fighting like nobody's business. And I won. But then again, was that enough?
Right.
Was that enough? And I knew I was enough, but was that enough? I was not finished, and I am not finished. And of course, that's why we're here today,
Mhm.
unpacking all of that,
Yep.
and I wanted to ask you this too, with the cancel culture, everybody's canceling people. I don't get in social media. Do you feel like women are like held to this impossible standard of perfection today? And how do you navigate through that, with the criticism as far as your careers are concerned? Because you could be targeted at any time.
Mhm.
How does one unpack that in their lives while they're climbing? Because we have to be so careful today. It was a time that we didn't have to be careful. We could get online as we are now and say what we needed to say and got it out the way. We're monitored, you
Yep.
know, especially as women. I mean, burning your bra, you might as well forget that. You don't even think about burning a bra today, even though even they all took them off and threw them out the window. But the significance of what that meant at that time, we're not there anymore.
I think as women, we have to realize, number one, we are women.
Mhm.
And yes, we may be held at a different standard, but I always say, you have to think of things as if you were to look back and, if someone took a picture of you doing X, how will you like that 5 years from now?
Oh,
How
I
will
can
you?
tell you I don't. I changed it. If you look at me from 5 years ago, I don't look anything like 5 years ago. Probably the same face, but totally bit different, which is interesting, but that's another podcast.
Yeah, yeah. But if the person may look different, but the action, if it's an action that you're taking
Right.
that you cannot be proud of,
Mhm.
and if you have to sit there and think, oh shit, how are people gonna, if you start to feel that second guess,
Oh,
right? If you think to yourself, oh, I don't know how that's gonna come off, don't do it.
right.
There's always a different way to say something in a different light. If you
Absolutely.
don't have to use ChatGPT or Claude or name your favorite AI tool, whatever, to do it, but if that message is not resonating and you're questioning it, then flip it. Find
Right.
another way to say something. And I think we are held to a different standard. But think of it, I always like to say, think of it from a higher standard. Yeah, because you know what? You as a woman, you're freaking badass, and people are looking
Badass.
at you, and you're a badass woman, and just know that you have the power to influence others and do it with positivity. If you
Absolutely.
do that and know that the messaging that you have without negativity or bashing somebody else, or like, you can always say something with a smile.
And the message has to be aligned with your values, you know? And like I said, you always have to be conscious of your moral compass when you're delivering things. And I always say, it's not what you say, it's how you deliver that, how you convey those messages. And if it's not aligned with who you are, oh, trust me, your audience will call you out on it in a second.
Right.
And that's a part of that cancel society because they're like, wait a minute, you're not who you say you are. I mean, not that they're always right, but that's what it's about, you
Right.
know? Please be who you are or who you say you are, or have your messaging align with that. If I'm sitting here telling you, talking to you about unpacking your life, we're talking about unpacking so many different things. Don't take the title and run with it and think it means something else. No, it means how do we unpack certain things here as women to help each other?
Right.
And I know what I had to do. And I said to myself, my God, what if, there was a woman out there that couldn't do what I did because she didn't have the means? How do you help her? Where would we go with that? So by bringing, people like yourself and others on to share with them, this is the way you do this. It has been done this way. Don't think it can't be done. There's always someone out there to help you move forward.
Yeah.
You might have to dig a little deeper and search a little more and look past some, fake smiles and bullshit, but you will find it. And that's the message pretty much. If you have to unpack, make sure you find the people you need to unpack with.
Right.
Unpack by yourself first, but then the support has to be there because you do need support when you're unpacking anything in your life that is not aligned with your values and your morals. So especially partners, friends, and family. I know people that said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I'm divorcing that person, that family member, that friend. I'm divorcing them. They are no good to my spirit, my thoughts every day. I don't need them in my life. And those are the things you unpack because the more you peel back those layers, they do reveal themselves.
Right.
You just
Right.
have to believe it the first damn time. Because if it takes you 3, 4, 5 times, you're already in trouble. You need to believe it when you see it, when you hear it, and know it's there. But that's who we are. What's one of the boldest decisions you ever had to make that completely changed your trajectory?
I'm trying to think about what's the boldest decision. Actually, sorry, I know exactly. One of the biggest decisions I've ever made was that I had to move across the country. I made. So we moved my family in 2018. I made a decision to move our family across the country, from
Wow.
Massachusetts to Reno, Nevada. And it was probably one of the best things that we've ever done, but it was a hard decision. I mean, it was like, going from what we have known to, going from a life that we knew to a life that I had no idea what I was getting into, right? Was huge. I didn't know.
What made
But it
you make
was,
that decision?
um, again, it was one of those aha moments that I just realized what we were doing in Massachusetts was we needed to start living versus existing.
Oh,
And it just so happened that there was an opportunity for us to go from, there was an opportunity for my husband. He's a physician, so I can go anywhere. And
mhm.
an opportunity arose. And so, um, we talked about it with the kids. We looked at what we wanted. My kids were in seventh and fifth grade. And, looking back, do my kids complain about it? Yes, in some ways. Because there's things about here that are good at there, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Absolutely.
Um, but but at the same time, there's so many amazing positive things that have come out of the move that I wouldn't change that for the world, right? Um, so that was probably one of the biggest decisions that we've made because you're moving across the country, and I knew nobody,
Wow.
no one.
Well, that was me in Naples. I knew no one. I didn't even know what I was getting into down there. I looked around and nobody looked like me. That was the scariest part. And I went straight from New York City to there. And I think it was season. And all these people were there. And it seems like it was a big party until everybody went home. And I'm like, wait a minute, where am I? Okay, wait a second. I have to gather myself here. So I get that. When you know one, you know not the lay of the land at all, and
I
what's actually going on there.
Oh my god, I didn't know. It was so funny because I didn't know anybody, and I also, besides not knowing anybody,
Mhm.
I moved here, and my husband had to actually, we got here with the truck pulls in, and then literally within 24 hours he actually, you know um went, he had to go back to Massachusetts. And so he went back to Massachusetts, and I was a single parent for 3 months
Wow.
in a place I didn't know anybody.
Wow.
And now at the same time, it was crazy because when he came back out here and he would be visiting, it was like our lives were kind of, it was a weird match because like I'm meeting people and they're like, yeah, I do have a husband, he's just not here yet. I mean, he's coming. He's coming. He's on the slow boat from China. No, I
Yeah.
bought him. He's a mail order. He was a mail order husband. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I was stuck there for 5 months without anyone. I had to learn the lay of the land. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life there, as far as work was concerned. I mean, it was really interesting. Got into real estate and did really well. Naples was very good to me when it came to that, I have to say. Um, Strangely enough, I did very well there and was happy there for quite some time. It was when I unpacked, it was about me unpacking. It was about my joy, my peace, my peace of mind also. Just
Right. It's
wanting what I wanted, period.
yeah. So it's funny because it's amazing what we can do when we are thrown into something and you have an experience, and if and again, we've kind of been talking a little bit about it, like you can either rise up
Right?
or you can put the covers over your head and stay there, or again, or you can get out there and make stuff happen. And I had people say to me, almost like 3 or 4 months into me being in Reno saying, oh my God, I've been here my whole life and you know more people than I do.
Oh, see?
And, and you're
That's
like,
that magic. That's that magic. That's that girl magic, right?
right. And so that's where I was like, I kept thinking, wow, I loved that my kids got to see that happen and see me make friends out of nothing.
Wow.
It would be, walking into the grocery store, right? And talking to somebody in front of, the ice cream section or wherever. I talk to, I can pick up and just say, hey, how are you? How's your
Oh,
day? Yeah.
absolutely. I
And
think
you
it's
just,
something to be said about people like us. We want engagement, right? We thrive on that. That energy of that exchange helps us mentally. We just thrive on it. And I think it's a whole group of badass women that are like that. We need engagement. We're
yeah,
not silent people. We have things, we have stuff we want to talk about, things we want to do, things we want to share. So that engagement is so important to us. That exchange from one human being to another is a beautiful thing because you never know what you're going to get out of that.
right. And
So I totally get you.
and that's where, as much as I think social media has a place, there is a
Right.
place for everything. But what I try to instill in my kids, and for the good and the bad, um, my kids actually like to pick up the phone and talk to people. They would rather do that than text. They
Oh, me.
would rather, you know, yes. Does my daughter send me stuff all about, from Instagram, something that she's looking at, whatever? Does my son send
Of
me some
course,
stuff?
of
Yes.
course.
But at the end of the day, they like to have conversations. And I think it's that connection that if we can get, we as humans need that.
Oh,
We need
yes,
that
we
so much.
do.
So when I'm out there talking to people, or if I'm out there in the supermarket and I use this, it's smiling,
Absolutely.
right?
That's
Right?
right.
Smile. It's contagious,
It
right?
is contagious.
And I would rather smile. You say, hey, how are you? How's your day going? Oh, it's great. If and I love to say, if I can go to sleep at night knowing that after when I put my head hits a pillow, that I smiled at people and maybe I made somebody else's day.
Absolutely. And
You know,
that's what we're here for. We're here to engage with one another. I mean, if we don't do that, what do we have? We have nothing.
right.
It's nothing. It costs you nothing to walk down the street and smile at someone and say hi. You never know. Someone could be having the worst day of their lives. And all of a sudden, here it is, Jacqueline, you're walking down the street and your eyes meet. They look like, and you're smiling. And all of a sudden, this smile comes to their face. And that has happened to me. I've walked down the street and I've been in a bad mood and someone looked at me and smiled. And immediately, I smiled back. Immediately. And it happens all the time. I smile all the time at people. In New York, people, they say New Yorkers aren't friendly, but that's not true. New Yorkers are very friendly. They will smile, they will talk to you because no one's from New York. It's very rare that you meet a real New Yorker. So everyone wants to meet. And it could be the loneliest city with 8 million people, it could be the loneliest city in the world, too, if you're there and you don't know anybody. It seems like I remember when I first moved there, it seemed like everybody around me was enjoying their lives except me. And I thought, how is it that all of these people are around me and I don't know any of them? Then you start talking. You're
And
forced into
you
that.
person. And it's so funny that you say that, Jane, because when I lived in Manhattan, I used to say I have a really good friend, and she would always inherently be like, you know, 30, 45 minutes, an hour late, wherever we would meet. But I would be there on time because that's whatever. And I'd get there and I'd start talking to people. And by the time she'd get there, I'm like, she'd get there with some other people and then we'd go sit down. I'm like, I kind of want to go back over there with all those other people.
You're not that much fun. I was waiting all this time. I was having drinks with them, and they're fun.
They're a lot of fun, right?
I need all the damn information. I need to go back over there.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, and I always say this, like in New York, if you were waiting in line for the movies, movie theater, I will guarantee you that by the time you actually sit down in your seat, you're going to know half the line.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like you're gonna know half the line. Or you're gonna talk to people, and in Massachusetts, it's the opposite. They don't want to talk to you at all. And I grew up there, but I lived in Manhattan for over 10 years, and then when I moved back to Massachusetts, I remember sitting in a restaurant with my husband. We were celebrating our anniversary, and there's how tables are, they're
Yeah, of
right.
course.
There's two gentlemen talking shop, and my husband heard what they were saying, and they were physicians and whatever. I don't know. They're talking doctor stuff, and my husband said, "Oh, hi, I'm Doctor Blah." I go, if you, and I don't know. I can't remember exactly what he said. Who it was like he had 7 heads, and how dare you interrupt our conversation? It was
Holy camole.
right. It was so not New York.
Oh my
And
God.
you would have been like, "Hi, how are you?" You see you see a beautiful dish go by at a restaurant, and you
Of
see the
course.
table, and you say, "Oh, what did you get?" The person's gonna tell you.
Oh, 100%. You're always looking at people's meals. Yes.
Right. So sometimes we would do that, and people are like, "Ask the waiter."
I couldn't even I couldn't even imagine that. I think I would just laugh the whole time and
Yeah.
get drinks and laugh more and more and go, well, they're not having a good time over there. Why are they even at dinner together?
Right.
Do you ever
So
see that couple that's out and no one speaks? And you're looking over there at them and you're going, wow, I hope that's never me. That shit you're like blown. You're sitting there and you're laughing with your friends and you're talking, but you realize that the couple next to you are not even speaking, and they're looking at you, either the male or the female, or male, female, and they're looking over and wondering, wow, I wish I was at that table.
right.
And to me, that's the saddest thing. When I see that a couple is sitting there and they have no conversation.
Yeah.
That's a story within itself.
That
you know
is right.
and it's funny, it reminds me of something someone said to me, and I think I repeat it often. When I couldn't make a decision, she said, Jane, do you know not making a decision is making a decision also?
Yes. Right.
I mean, it was like someone just poured ice water all over me, and I thought, oh my God, this is the truth that's hitting me in my face, because I'm not making a decision. So I did make a decision. No. We have to reel that back, Jane. You're going to make a damn decision and you're going to stick to it because you know who you are. You found her. You make that decision and you move. You do what you need to do, because what's important is happiness.
Right.
I know it's the moment, and I try to hold on to every damn moment I get where I'm laughing till my belly hurts and I'm being my authentic self. I'm showing up as genuine Jane Bond, authentically me at all times. And I don't ever want to not be me. Not
Yeah.
ever do I not want to be authentic in who I am, what I put out there to others. And when I touch someone, I really touch them. I'm a hugger, I'm an emotional being,
Hmm.
and I want to feel,
Yeah.
so when I had to unpack my life, those are all the things that were in my head. And I kept saying, and I'm going to ask you that question. What would I tell my younger self right now? What memo would I write to her? And I've asked that question several times. I know what I wrote to her because I did write to her. So I'm going to ask you, what if you had the opportunity to send a video memo to your younger self at this stage in your life? What would you tell yourself? What would that video say?
The video would first and foremost say, "Don't worry about what other people think." Number
100%.
one, do not worry about what other people think of you. You are you, and it doesn't matter. Everybody has an opinion, and you just need to be happy with who you are.
100. That is
So
so 100.
I would tell myself that. I would also tell myself, because there was a period of time where I didn't sit down and figure out what my goals and what I wanted and where I wanted to go, I would say, make sure that you sit down, every year and write out where you want and where you want to go. And specifically reach out to people that scare you to become your mentors. Actually
Amen to that.
People actually want to help. So, you know, that is, when I think about, and I wish I was a bit of advice, that I would give to somebody now, like people that are getting, and I try to tell my kids this all the time. My daughter is a freshman in college. My son's a junior. If you see somebody that you really, you know, think is doing something amazing or that you want to do, reach out to them,
Latch onto it.
right?
Yeah.
Figure out a way, whether it's writing them a letter, whether it's getting them on social media,
Mhm.
whether it's figure everybody, there's a way to connect with anybody. Find
Absolutely.
out what that is and reach out and connect. Because and I used to, when my first job out of college, starting my career in magazine publishing, my first boss was not who I thought it was going to be. I interviewed for this position. I was super excited about it. I couldn't wait because I really liked who I thought my manager, and I hate the word manager. It needs to go out of the vocabulary. But when I got there, it was somebody else. And that person, as we started working together, I was like, she's not qualified.
Ah,
And I saw the difference between the like how the woman who I thought was going to be my manager worked and how this one did. And I thought, I want the other one.
right.
And I didn't have that. And I started, it was like began this search for the perfect manager to help, who can help, who's going to help me grow in my career.
Yes.
And and I wish somebody had just taken me aside and said, who's the person that, if you want, who's the person that whose position you want 10 years from now, and go talk to them.
Wow.
And it's a lesson that I would say to anybody. If you see a position out there right now and you want that, and you're like, I want to be that in 10 years, I want to be that in 5 years, reach out and talk to them.
Absolutely. Give us another take. That was a great takeaway. That was Jaclyn. Can you give us a couple takeaways? That was beautiful. Yeah, that was beautiful because that is true. People do reach out, and I mean, I had a young lady reach out to me, and I look at her today, and I'm like, wow, she's climbed so high, and she reached a goal, but I see so much more in her future. And I always say, I see you in the political arena. And I mean, she was maybe 24 when I met her. She's probably 31 now or 30. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. And it's so funny because she's much younger than I am, but she kind of helped me through unpacking, and with prayer and so forth. And I love her to death. She's like my little sister. And I always said to her, if I had any children and I had a daughter, I would want her to be like you.
Oh, that's
And I
awesome.
said, that's how much I love you. And that's it. It's nothing else. But we have come to the end of our session of Unpack Your Life. Again, another wonderful, wonderful interview with Jaclyn Strominger. Jaclyn, listen, you are an amazing lady.
Oh, thank you.
You,
So are
yeah,
you.
You're definitely a badass. I love it. You put it out there, you say what you say, and I said what I said, and you mean it too. So I love that. And I love when I meet women that are strong and stand in the, they stand in their dirt. That's it. This is it. So, thank you for coming on. And please tell the audience where to find you
All right.
and
So
how to find you.
so go to my website, leaptoyoursuccess.com. So it's all spelled out, leaptoyoursuccess.com, leaptoyoursuccess.com.
I
Go
love that.
there. I actually have a really great download. It's a mission vision workbook. So grab that. There's some other free publications. So go grab those. But more
Fantastic.
importantly, find me on social. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So find me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on YouTube. It's my first name and my last name. But if you go to my website, I do have something that says, let's connect.
Oh,
Connect with me.
great.
I want to connect with you. I want to learn about you. I want to have 30 minutes of your time to chat. And I have a podcast, so you can grab the podcast there. It's
I'll be
Unstoppable.
there.
Yeah, get the podcast. You got to get on there too. But find me there, connect with me, because I really want to have 30 minutes of a connect time so that we can help you leap to your greatest success.
Oh, love it. Guys, Jaclyn Strominger, you heard what she says. She wants to connect with you. She wants 30 minutes of your time. That's all she's asking. I'm sure you can find it somewhere in your day. It's for free, which is always good for someone like Jaclyn to give you that advice to keep you moving forward in your life. And you know where to find us. You can find us on all the social media platforms, Spotify, Apple. I don't even think Anchor's out anymore, but we're there. You just look for Unpack Your Life and you will find us. Or just look for me, Jane Bond. Thank you guys for joining us. And Jaclyn, I can't wait to see you again.
I know. I can't wait to see you too, Jane.
Collaborate somehow.
Yeah,
Somehow.
we're gonna figure that out.
All right. Don't go anywhere.